Hello, this is Mark here at Gary's Guitars in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I'm here for our Little Amp series. And today's Little Amp is small but mighty. The Fender Bassbreaker 007. 007, like the James Bond number, but this in this case stands for 7 watts. So we're going to talk. It's a brand new amp, just right off the line. But it does qualify as a little tube amp because it's a tube amp and it's 7 watts. And despite being a little heavy, it's actually small. So we're going to talk about it, and let's take a look. Do a little walk around first. Okay, here it is. Looks great. So the Bassbreaker series, if you're not familiar, it kind of tries to take from the legacy of the bass, the bassman, and playing guitar through a bassman. The large Bassbreaker is a lot like that bassman circuit. I mean, the actual power amp section. However, the 15 and now the 007 aren't much like it at all. But it fits in the series because part of what the Bassbreaker does is overdrive. And this thing overdrives at any volume. So we have a master volume that helps that happen. The treble boost helps that happen. 3-band EQ. But also, it is getting a clean sound out of this amp will be challenging. It's always going to be some kind of broken up, but in the lower settings, some kind of cool broken up. They actually give you this little thing on the card on the top that kind of gives you some suggestions. So Dirty Deeds, obviously, with a humbucker, which is like an AC/DC tone, a Marshall tone. And to be clean, you really have to be playing the Strat. Humbuckers overdrive this thing quite a bit. On the back panel, there's a foot switch. This, I assume, it operates the treble boost. I haven't tried it as a switch. A speaker out, which mutes the internal speaker, and a line out, which assumably is preamp out. On the Bassbreaker 15, they actually have an XLR, like DI out style, which is pretty handy. It would have been a cool thing to have on this. A lot of amps are including that now, not this one. Here you have the don't stick your stuffing in the back of your amp panel, and so it ventilates, but you can't jam your stuff in there and break stuff. So by the way, don't stick stuff in the back of your amp. And this is assumably like a bass port, because it's just a little port here on the bottom, on the back side. It's just grill cloth there, nothing on the other side. So maybe for some bass release. It has the beautiful Fender Jewel, nice sturdy switch, good quality looking input, great handle. Build quality is excellent. Do I say much better? I'll say much better. Much better than a Blues Junior. Noticeably better than a Blues Junior. Build quality wise. I do like that. Same factory. Alright, so let's talk about this a little bit. So, this is the part where people leave in the comments. They say, hey, play it. I want to hear it. And that's not something I'm doing with these amps in this series. Mostly because there's plenty of examples of these amps being played on YouTube somewhere. But this is being made for YouTube, and there's not a lot of information, and so these are meant to be informational videos. Plus, I really am of the belief that with the YouTube, compression and camera mics and whatever, or so either you have to do it like in a studio for real and bring in studio quality audio, but just sitting with a camera phone and listening to an amp, it doesn't give a lot of information. What it will say, as far as the sound, is it really does a great overdrive sound for such a small amp. So, if you're, I had most fun cranking the gain, getting that kind of Marshall tone. These things are great Marshalls. The 15 does great Marshall sounding stuff. The disadvantage is you can seldom get a clean sound at any volume. The good thing is, this particular amp, low cost, comes in definitely $200 cheaper than the Blues Junior, and the Blues Junior doesn't have a master, well, it has a master volume, but it doesn't do master volume overdrive. This does not this does do what you would associate with a Marshall JMC 800 style overdrive. Whereas the Blues Junior, you got to crank the gain and put the boost on, and then maybe at certain master volume areas get that heavy overdrive sound. So it really fits into the Fender family well enough. It's not redundant. The fact that it costs less is a really good thing. Let's talk about the tube. The EL84 is what seldom was ever found in an American amplifier. In the American-made Vox amps in the mid-60s, they did use those, but they stopped using them right away and went to solid state. But it's considered a European tube. Actually, it's the European designation for the American. I think it's 6CA7 now. Whoops, I should have looked that up ahead of time. Anyways, there's an American designation for the 6CA7 is the EL34. The EL84, well, Google it. Sorry. But yeah, there's an American designation for that tube, but in the US, the tube was used mostly in hi-fi, not in guitar amps. So if you're looking at the major US amplifier manufacturers like Valco and Danelectro and Fender, of course, and whoever else, you definitely don't see that tube very often. So it's considered a European tube. The EL84 is what Marshall went to soon thereafter, after basically making Fender Bassman clones. The and Vox, the Vox AC30 has that tube in it. It's a really simple tube to build for. So a lot of those low cost, couple of $100. Hey, it's a tube amp. It's only a couple $100 from whatever company. There's one that people are getting on Amazon lately that's actually pretty good. So transformers, you don't need the girth of transformers that you need in trying to get a 6L6 or 4 6L6s pushing out 50 to 100 watts. Wattage wise, a pair is about 15, and that's what the Blues Junior has in it as well, but it behaves very differently in here. But Fenders began building with those tubes with the Blues Junior, and they use them in their smaller amps. Like I said, I have a hi-fi stereo that uses those tubes, and in hi-fi they're great. And so the sound is very different than a 6L6. 6L6 is more that mid-range attack. This amp, despite the fact having a small speaker and being a small enclosure, has plenty of bass end push because there's not a lot of dive off on the characteristics of the tube and the output transformer that it uses. So, it is the best example of an EL84 amp, a low power EL84 one tube that I have come across, and real useful tool in that respect. Like I said, slightly heavier than most little amps, but shouldn't bother you. It's not terribly heavy. Great look, great build quality on the outside. I haven't been like literally under the hood, but all I've been in there with a light, just looking around. All things point to really great build quality. So, and price wise, I think right now when I'm making this video, and I made the mistake of mentioning this with a Blues Junior video years ago when they cost $200 less. Right now they're $550 map price. That's the price that you can get it anywhere for, and so hopefully they hold that. But for that money, a lot of value here. And like I said, if you want a little amp that can do Marshall-like sounds, then this might be it. Check out the rest of our series here on small amps. There's a bunch of other ones. Check out all of our YouTube stuff and Instagram. We do store walkthroughs and little informational shorts and stuff. So thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.